Hi, I'm Dave Green. This is my first project I've put onto Hackster, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through the code. I'm not going to go through typing each section out. I'll put the source code in the project as well so we can look at that. Well, this is a very basic Amazon skill for Alexa, and the main part of it, apart from don't say Alexa when you've got an Amazon Echo sat on your desk. I have to quickly try and mute it. Okay, so this is for Alexa. It's a simple skill, but it's going to use the ipinfo.io REST API so we can get the information on what country an IP address is located in. When you, just going to discard any possible change I've done there. When you create a Alexa skill, you can choose a language. Now, I always do them for English UK and English US. Fortunately, there's not a duplicate option, so you do have to do a lot of copy and pasting. I can't do Germany because I can't speak German, except for ordering beer and a bit of food, which is actually more embarrassing for me because I used to live there. And what we've got is on the front page, you have a type of skill, and the application ID is that's going to be quite important later when we do our code. So you just give a name. So this is the name that will show up in your Alexa app. And then the invocation. This needs to be something snappy, something easy to say, and meaningful for the question. So I've just got IP locator. So that means we're going to be able to say open IP locator or ask IP locator where is, and that will allow us to make our calls. Now I've seen just from some reviews and go through on the Alexa Skills Store, a good project can fail with a bad invocation name. If you have 3-4 words that don't really make sense, people are not going to like it, and it's just not a good user experience. Going on to our interaction model. This is where we build our schema for intent. Now we only have one intent, which is get country. That's what we've called it here. And we need to have what's called a slot, so what type of value we're going to have. Now there are a number of built-in ones such as number, address, city, and then based on country you can have different values. In fact, while we're here, if I just open up this page, go back, really good design this on the developer console. You can open up basically the help for each section right next to it, so it's a good one from Amazon there. Now, if we go down and look at the intents, keep going down, look at what I was actually looking for there. So it was built-in slots, not intent I needed. And we'll go, so we can see, so they got city type for Austria, obviously for the German region, Amazon.date, so if you need to catch a date. Again, regions for Germany, a duration, so that's going to accept a numeric value, European city, a 4-digit number. So you'll use any of these for your intent. Now, in most cases I've found when I've been developing skills, because this is about 3rd or 4th, I think, that I've done now, is you will need to create your own custom slot type. So under custom slot types, you add a type. You can then give it a name and then just a series of values. What I have done, pre-prepared earlier, so I've got address values. These are going to be IP addresses because there is no default type for an IP address. And that's what we have. So just put a few examples there. Just helps the system and helps the person doing the certification. The final part of this is sample utterances. So what is the user going to say? So for get country, so you put the intent name first. So I've got get country, and what they're going to say is what country is, and then we have the address in. So that's one of the ways we'd expect a user to do. Where is, and then give the IP address. What country is, and then the IP address, and then just a simple one of locate. So on this, you'd want to put as many options as you possibly can in here, and just makes it a better experience for the users. Users shouldn't have to try and learn how to use your skill. Users should be able to just speak, and your skill should be able to detect from that. Next part is the configuration. So we've moved down, And the best way to do this is to use the AWS Lambda, because that takes care of all of the security requirements, the certificates that would need to be done. If you selected a HTTP address, you would then need to have an SSL certificate that's valid, and that will get checked by Amazon. So if you do AWS Lambda, which is what we're going to look at in a moment, when you have your Lambda function, the ARN is just at the top, and you would just copy that across, which is what I have done here. Account linking is for if you are going to be connecting up to another service and you want to get their information, so you need to check that they're authorized. It's actually not that difficult to do. It's a case of just having a web app and a web service yourself, which takes a state value from Amazon, checks it, and then you put a call into either OAuth or just your own check, and then return an authorization ID. But we don't need that today, so we're going to move on. So the next part will be going on to test. Now, where we've set up our configuration, so this is our endpoint. So this is where we would create our Lambda code. So this is exactly what we're going to do. Now, I'm not going to go through creating a Lambda function. There's enough guides on doing that, some from Amazon itself. So we've got this already set up, our function. What is important, you have to select a trigger. You add a trigger, and it needs to be the Alexa Skills Kit. Now, on this, you have to be careful which region you use for the Alexa Skills Kit. Now, I know North Virginia is capable of it, as is EU Ireland and EU Frankfurt. A lot of the others aren't set up for Alexa Skills Kit, so you need to choose where your function is going to go correctly. And now we go into the code. And as it's in Node.js, I'm going to start right at the bottom. So in our exports handler, what I've done is I've taken one of the samples from the AWS Lambda library for an Alexa Skills Kit. And this section here is pretty much just taken from that sample. So we've got the launch request, intent request, and session ended. So the intent request is the one we are going to need. So then we have a function of onIntent. We just get the intent name. Now, I have a template because I've created a couple of these quite similar. So what I do is go through the intent request. Okay, so I just got interrupted there. Let's pause for a moment. So on our intent, I know we only have like one standard intent, but we also have a few Amazon ones that we need to support, which is help, cancel, and stop. So I've added these in, and if we extend the application out, it's just an easier design to go with. So if I go to, well, I'll start actually with the Amazon help. So you always have to provide a help intent. So I go to get help message. All this is, I create a few variables for title and a speech output and then a reprompt. And then I use a callback to send all of this information with a build speechlet response with card. Now these are, if I go to the top of the screen, 3 help functions that I have already created. So I have a build response, which creates the JSON part for the Alexa response. And then inside of that has the speechlet response, which is what is used for the Alexa to decide how it speaks back. So the source code for this is part of the project, so if you want to go through and have a look at this. This is just generic between any app, really, that I've used. So we have build speech response, and that's just going to speak back to the user and return the response. As you can send a card with the Alexa skill, we have speech response with card. So I only use this on this app for the help. So when you ask for help, not only does it tell you what you can do, it sends a card back to your Alexa app, giving all of the details. Okay, so that's just the Alexa part itself. Now the main part of the app, quickly go over, is our get country function. So this is when we get the intent of our get country. Now what you're going to see is not the best code ever because I want it to be clear what I'm doing for this demonstration. So when we call get country, first of all, we're not sending any attributes back, and that's part of the Alexa response. So we're just not actually doing any of that for now. What we need to do is get the IP address. So the first thing I do is get the intent, slot, and then the address. So this is the name in your interaction model. You will have that slot will be available by calling intent.slots. So we've got .address and then we get the value. Now this is just something I found during testing. I could do 5.6 and I could do 7.8, but sometimes it would stick the word point in there. So I've just got it to remove that if necessary and replace it with the period mark. Next thing, I'm just going through and clearing any blank spaces. So again, if it takes the two numbers as separate options, you want to clear any blank space. You want to clear any blank space before and after as well. And then finally, I've gone and replaced any characters that aren't numeric just with blank. So sometimes if there's some noise in the background, an extra word could be added on to the end of your IP address. So the sample address I use is 5.6.7.8, and sometimes it would have in or gain or add. So it could just pick up a word at the end of it. So this is just a way to clear down and make sure you only get the IP address. In reality, on a longer term project, you would put that all into one main regex, but it's just easier to look at when other people are viewing my code. And then for the output, I've just put the address because I'm going to. This isn't really needed. I'm going to use the output later. And I've provided a reprompt text at this stage, saying I'm sorry I didn't catch that. So if it doesn't quite understand something, it'll come back and remind users. I have a variable of should end, which is very simple. This is saying the Alexa app won't just close out at the end of this response. It will give the user an option, which is what will come back with a reprompt text later on. Next stage is a HTTP GET, just using the standard Node.js library. So what I've done, we'll call the IP info with the address, and then we send a function on the end of this. Now, some of this is just information I use for debugging, so we don't really need to use that, but I've kept it in there. If there's a problem, it will actually show you what the address is and the status code. So that's something we can use later if we need to. So if the status code is 200, we're going to parse the data. So we're going to get the JSON, which is the response back from the IP info service. And then we're going to create a location string, which is just going to say what city, region, and then we'll get the country. So in our JSON, we'll have a .country. Now this comes back as a country code, which is why I have a function which just returns back the country name from the code, and this is taken from country.io, which is actually recommended by the previous service anyway. As I've just copied that in now for ease, we could just pull that down as a service, but for demonstration purposes, I've just got it this way. And then there's our location. And then we just format an output saying this is where the IP address is located. Trim any white space, make it look neat. And then this is where our should end comes in. So we have a reprompt text. Is there anything else? So this way you can ask again, I want a different IP address. So you say, once it comes up with this, you can say, okay, locate this one now and give another address. And then it returns build speech response with the output reprompt text and whether or not it should end. So this is just using these helper methods again. And that's really it. So if we go back to our Amazon apps, we can go back to our test area. I can say locate. I need to type it in. This is one thing I found last time. So I'm going to type it in as if so it's going to hear the words I'll be saying. So it's 5.6.7.8. And this is a really good simulator, this one. So you can see the JSON request you send, and you can see the response. So this is all what gets broken down by our Lambda code. You can see here that IP address is located in Germany. And that's all there really is to this. So now we can do the demo, but on the actual Amazon device. Alexa, ask IP locate what country is 5.6.7.8 in?
That IP address is located in Germany. Thank you for using WhereIsTheIP.
Alexa, open IP locate.
Hi and welcome to WhereIsTheIP, your helpful IP locator tool. What can I do for you?
Where is 5.6.7.8?
That IP address is located in Germany. Is there anything else I can do?
No.
Thank you for using WhereIsTheIP.